Pacific Ridge Exploration is a leading BC copper gold exploration company with 5 highly prospective projects in BC, one of the world's top mining jurisdictions. CEO Blaine Monaghan is joining us to review the projects, the plans for the coming year, and a broader discussion on the markets. With copper over $4 and gold approaching $2,400, I'm seeing some green shoots and some cautious optimism that the good explorcos are starting to get some love. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. It's Friday, April the 19th. Please remember this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Blaine, good to have you back, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Martin. Good to be here.
All right, you have a lot of projects on the go, and I was thinking it would be good for investors to get a review of the company's strategy, projects, and plans for the summer on the back of your recently closed financing, which I participated in. When you joined Pacific Ridge over 3 years ago, what was your plan and strategy for Pacific Ridge at the time? And are you happy with what you've accomplished since then?
Yeah, absolutely. So I became the CEO in January 2021. At that time, we did have the option on Kliyul, which is our flagship project. We optioned that project in January 2020 from Centerra. When I joined a year later, Pacific Ridge was a 5-cent stock. It had a 1.5 million market cap, but I believe that copper and particularly copper in BC was going to be a hot commodity, pardon the pun. So I was pretty excited to join the company. I thought there's an opportunity for real value to be had. And I also thought it was really important to try to pivot the company or make it very clear what the future of the company should be. And at the time, I said that our goal was to become one of BC's leading copper gold exploration companies. And we've achieved that. We now own or control 5 copper gold porphyry projects, with Kliyul being our flagship. Our investment thesis is pretty simple. I believe it was intact in January 2020 when we initially acquired Kliyul. I believe it's intact today, and that's really the electrification of society, coupled with increased political, social, environmental risk in South America, is going to result in a lot more interest, a lot more activity in these porphyry projects in BC, and the companies that own them or control them are going to become increasingly more valuable. And of course, now with gold trading at all-time highs, copper is now trading slightly, significantly north of $4, and I suspect it'll be trading at all-time highs here fairly shortly. We're seeing a lot more interest in these projects. We're seeing the strategic investments. We're seeing the joint ventures. We're seeing the acquisitions. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. So I'm really happy with what we've been able to achieve. And I think that ourselves and our shareholders are going to be rewarded for the strategy as we continue to move forward.
With 5 projects on the books, that's a lot. And 5 quality projects, in my opinion, with good opportunity there. That's a lot for any company to take on. What is the strat? Like, are you going to are you going to develop all of these? Are you going to sort of option some of them out and sort of have a portfolio of some where you have sort of a residual interest on an option with a couple of main ones you're developing yourself? What's the strategy for those 5 projects?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a few different models that juniors follow. I mean, there's obviously the prospector generator model. There's more just the strict exploration co-model. And I'd say we're more in the exploration co-model. I mean, what we're trying to do here is make a big enough discovery, outline a resource, put out a 43-101 compliant resource on one of these projects, ultimately leading to a preliminary economic assessment report demonstrating its robust economics. I mean, really our goal here is to make a big enough discovery that's economic to attract M&A. That being said, I mean, you're going to have a flagship. I think it's important for a junior always to have a focus. And if you are able to attract partners for some of your secondary projects, just fine. That's not a bad way to continue to add value to some of your projects that you're not going to be able to advance or fund. And we've done that ourselves while we continue to advance Kliyul. We launched our first drill program there in 2021. It was a small program, 1,500 meters, then 7,000 meters in 2022. And last year was biggest ever, over 10,000 meters, we had optioned RDP to Antofagasta. So we were advancing Kliyul, that's our flagship, it remains our flagship, and we had optioned RDP, a secondary project to Antofagasta, one of the world's largest copper miners. So they recently returned the project back to us. I'd be open to similar opportunities if any other partner was interested in, say, RDP or Redton or Onjo. Yes, I wouldn't be as keen to option out Chuchi. I'm very bullish on Chuchi. Again, Kliyul is the focus. But I'm very keen to get in and drill Chuchi. I think that offers a tremendous discovery opportunity, and I'm very keen, as I said, to get in there and drill it. That has the potential, I think, to generate returns that we saw in the early days at Kliyul when we traded, from pennies up to 58 cents, or like American Eagle, again, pennies to 70 cents today, or Hercules going from pennies to 80 cents today. So I think Chuchi offers that discovery opportunity, and that's why I wouldn't be keen to option it out. I think it's a project we should advance, and if we can have success, give those returns to shareholders.
Would you maybe consider optioning it out, not like after you get the exciting work done, hopefully you find some good exploration and a good discovery, and then once that kind of value is at least partially crystallized, then you can kind of negotiate a better option for it? Would that be a potential?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's again always an option. I mean, that'd be a similar situation with Kliyul right now. I mean, we've done a tremendous amount of work. We've had a lot of success. We've continued to grow it. At a certain point in time, with any of these projects with success, you have to determine, if you have the ability to keep advancing it yourself, or whether you should think about a partner. At the moment, I would say for Chuchi, we haven't even had that opportunity yet, so I want that opportunity.
Yeah.
For Kliyul, I mean, if you had a senior mining company come and say, "Hey, listen, we're willing to enter into a joint venture and spend a tremendous sum of money and give you money," I mean, that's something you'd have to entertain, just like we did with RDP. So I would say right now that obviously Kliyul and Chuchi are the projects that are the most advanced stage, the ones that we think offer the most opportunity. So we're keen to continue to hold on to them and move those forward ourselves. But you have to be open to any opportunity that you think could unlock value.
So you mentioned that last year was your biggest drill program to date. Can you kind of review what you did last year, and how does that set the table for this year's plans?
Yeah, last year was Pacific Ridge's busiest exploration season ever. And Pacific Ridge was taken public by one of my mentors, John Brock, in 1979. So it goes back a ways. We completed more than 10,000 meters of drilling at Kliyul. Antofagasta funded more than 1,400 meters of drilling at RDP. And we also completed an induced polarization survey at Chuchi, helping to refine targets. So a very busy exploration season. But when you think about the drilling at Kliyul, really successful. So when we initially optioned this in 2020, it was an early stage project of interest. Yes, it had seen some drilling, but limited deep drilling. But some of those drill holes indicated to us the potential for this to get much bigger. And I would have said at the very beginning that I think it had the grades. We needed to increase the size. And with each subsequent drill program we've completed, we've continued to expand the mineralized extent. So it now measures, well, at the Kliyul main zone, about 760 meters east-west, 600 meters north-south, and up to 650 meters vertical depth, and it remains open. I think it has the size now. I think it can continue to grow. What we'd be more interested in now is trying to find higher grade mineralization. And the last few holes of last year's program demonstrate to us where we can get that. So what we're looking to do right now, we did just complete a financing, a fairly modest financing, about a 1.75 million financing, and that'll be used to fund geophysical surveys that are going to help refine some of those targets for us that we identified at the end of the last year. Probably the most exciting target for us is that we feel that we've now identified a potential porphyry core in the Kliyul main zone north. It's likely to be a little bit deeper, and that's why we want to use these surveys. They're going to help us refine these deeper targets. We're now looking at depths that our previous tools can't show us what we might be looking at or looking for. So to help refine those targets for future drilling. So we're really looking forward to getting back there. And again, future drilling, if you can continue to identify higher grade mineralization to depth or hit a higher grade porphyry core, that would be an absolute game changer. As I said, I feel we're very close to where we need to be. And I've always told people that I think for a project located where it is, and we're pretty fortunate we're just located off road and power, that I think you need a minimum 250 million tons grading approximately a 0.5 copper equivalent. And I think size, we're in excess of that. Grade, we're close. I'd like to see our grade profile increase a little bit, and that's why we'll be looking to target these future areas in the future.
All right, so you're for the Kliyul, do a little more homework before you can really put together a drill plan to hunt down that higher grade porphyry zone you're thinking is there.
Yeah, it's likely to be deeper. So I mean, that's expensive. And so you want to really, and because we can't see that deep right now with the data that we have, that's what these tools are going to enable us to do. They're going to enable us to see deeper. We have an idea of where we want to go, but the better you can refine that before you're drilling deeper, I think that's the right thing to do. Just more efficient, better chance, increases your chances for success.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other focus is on Chuchi, where you want to do additional groundwork as well, right?
Yeah, Chuchi. I think Chuchi again offers a fantastic discovery opportunity, just like Kliyul did for us when we first drilled it in 2021. Chuchi is more advanced stage than Kliyul. It's seen more drilling. You do have historic resource. We optioned this in 2022. It's from Centerra. It's the only project we don't own 100%. We did a Z-Temp survey in 2022. We did some IP there last year. And we did actually plan to drill it last year, but the wildfire season was so bad, we were unable to. So we reallocated that budget to Kliyul. So when I think of Chuchi, I mean, I just think discovery opportunity. I mean, that the work we've done indicates to us that the mineralization that's been identified more near surface extends to depth. And that's what Chuchi really lacks, is almost all of the drilling has been shallow. The average depth is about 150 meters. A lot of the holes ended in mineralization, and we now have data suggesting that mineralization continues to depth. That's why I think it's so exciting. I mean, that's like a similar story at Kliyul. That would be like a similar story that at American Eagle or Hercules Silver, pushing mineralization to depth. That would be a new discovery, and it doesn't really matter what shape the market is in at that point in time. If you can come up with a new discovery, you're going to be rewarded. If the market is even more robust, well, the richer the reward. So that's why I'm really keen to get in there and drill Chuchi and offer that opportunity to shareholders versus, looking to option it out at the present time. I want us to have the first shot at it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So do you need any more surface work to do, or you've got a plan on, you just need the funds and you can send them out and start drilling?
Yeah, no, we're ready. We were ready last year. I would say the one benefit of not being able to drill it last year, it's just given us that much more time to really think about targets, and we're very confident in what areas we want to drill. People can reference that on the corporate presentation and see where we would plan to spot holes and see we'd be looking to extend mineralization into a big IP anomaly at depth. And obviously, if you can get mineralization and carry that on to depth, that would be really, really exciting. So the one thing we are lacking right now for Chuchi is the funds. As I mentioned, the financing we did do was fairly small, and it was really just to fund the additional surveys at Kliyul. If the market conditions continue to improve, and I think they will, and a financing window opens up for us, I would look to raise capital for Chuchi. It doesn't have to be a big program, but I'm very keen to get in there. And again, I think it offers wonderful discovery opportunity.
All right. Why don't we just step back a little bit in the region you're in on the Quesnel terrane, and then within BC itself? You've got a lot of great neighbors there. Can you just talk about the neighborhood, and then what are you seeing as a BC Explore Co? Is the environment good in does BC sort of rightfully claim it as being a world-class copper gold mining district?
Absolutely. Yeah, no. So BC has continued to become a popular source for senior mining companies, or popular destination, I should say. I mean, more recently, we just saw Newmont acquire Newcrest, which means that all of a sudden Newmont has emerged as the most dominant mining player, or one of the most dominant mining players in the province of BC. And the CEO feels that BC is a tier one jurisdiction. I absolutely agree. I think BC has fantastic discovery opportunity. The two main challenges that really exist historically and to this date in BC are First Nations and infrastructure. So it's really important to develop and maintain positive relationships with First Nations. That's something we spend a lot of time on. And if they are in support of your project, it's going to move forward. So that we're very, very cognizant of that. They are our most important stakeholders, and as I said, we spend a lot of time developing, building, and maintaining those relationships. The other really important part of the puzzle is infrastructure. So we're very lucky here in the northern part of the Quesnel terrane. I mean, we have road and power that was constructed to serve the past producing chemists. So our Kliyul is just 5 kilometers off that. When we go look further south, like Redton, Chuchi, Onjo, they're all road accessible. Chuchi is only 35 kilometers away from Centerra's Mount Milligan, which is the closest producing copper gold porphyry mine. Most of the porphyry mines in the Quesnel terrane, and the Quesnel terrane is quite prolific and it's quite large. It almost extends, the entire span of BC, north, south. And most of these mines are located to the south. The closest one, or most northerly one in the Quesnel terrane, is Mount Milligan. So it's an area, I think, that hasn't seen as much exploration potential because it is a little bit more challenging. There's a little bit more seasonality versus the south, but that's why there's so much tremendous exploration potential. And it's an area that I think that's going to get a lot busier as we continue to move forward. So when you think about the biggest players here, it's really ourselves, Centerra, and Northwest Copper.
All right. And then on a provincial basis, how is it working with the NDP government and sort of the regulatory and legal structure? It's tough environmental rules is one thing, but as long as they're firm and there's a good process, so you know what hoops and things to fill out and your requirements, is it a good structure to work in?
It has been, and again, I would say, your most important stakeholder is First Nations. So
Okay.
as long as you have positive relationships with First Nations and they
Yeah.
want to see your project move forward, the government is going to fall into line, really.
Okay.
So the NDP government has not been a hindrance. They've been a good partner. But there have been some changes floated recently that are causing a few concerns amongst the industry, and the industry is providing a lot of feedback to the BC government that, as far as you need to engage in a better consultation process with industry to make sure that the changes you're rolling out don't actually harm industry. And we're all having meetings with the provincial government with respect to this. And I'm hopeful that they will hear our concerns and try to balance out the need for reconciliation with industry and development, because ultimately you need industry and development to achieve economic reconciliation with First Nations. And if you scare that, or potentially scare that capital away, you're ultimately going to hurt the people that you purport to help.
Yeah. Yeah. True enough. True enough.
I would argue also that most First Nations would be echoing in that they would prefer the BC government to just stay out of it, and we'll do our own deals with industry.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Okay. And then stepping back even further on the macro global basis, you mentioned that copper is well over $4, and it looks to be continuing in that direction, maybe hitting record highs. And then gold's at approaching $2,400, which people have been talking about that for years, and we're finally getting to these very strong gold prices. So I know. Tell me what you think about that on the macro level, and the copper and the gold, and what's driving that.
Yeah, well, I think gold is very interesting. I think a lot of people are still a little bit mystified. Gold's recent aggressive push northward. Certainly, a lot of talking heads don't really understand what's taking place, and I'm not going to purport to be an expert, but I can see one of the biggest drivers has been central bank buying, and I can understand that when you think about most central banks, their holdings would be dominated by the U.S. dollar. Um, and the US dollar is still probably the best currency on the block. And if that's the best currency on the block, if you're a central bank, what else do you want exposure to? Do you want exposure to any other currency if the US dollar is the best? So I think that's why we're seeing large purchases by central banks, and I suspect that will continue for the foreseeable future. And that's where the copper miners find themselves today. I mean, they have mature mines. The grades are decreasing. The costs are going up. There has not been a lot of money spent on exploration. There have not been a lot of tier one discoveries. So that's why I very much like copper for lots of reasons, especially copper in BC. And even if demand was to stay stable, they'd still be faced with a lot of problems trying to fill that demand. But as a matter of fact, demand is going to continue to increase with the electrification of society. So I see copper continuing to trade higher. It's just a matter of time before it surpasses its old all-time highs, which was just slightly north of $5. That's probably going to happen this year.
Yeah, it's just with the lack of exploration, the lack of large discoveries, and then just the growing demand of copper. And copper is really one of those metals that's not, you can't exchange it for anything. You need copper in electric motors and power lines and houses and everywhere. So it's
Everything.
yeah, it's really what a critical metal. So yeah, that all makes a lot of sense to me. So as we wrap this up, Blaine, what do you want investors and prospective investors to think about and how to view Pacific Ridge exploration as it's moving forward into the spring and summer season here?
Yeah, I think you want to think about what we've achieved. I mean, we had a goal. We've achieved that. Our goal was to become one of BC's leading copper gold exploration companies. We've achieved that. We now own or control five copper gold porphyry projects in BC. This investment thesis is intact. So companies that own or control these projects are going to become increasingly more valuable. Yes, the market has been a little bit choppy. But I am seeing green shoots. I am seeing demand coming in. I'm starting to people are calling me, which is great. I'm seeing financings being announced. I'm seeing bought deals. I'm seeing increases in the size of financing. So this all indicates to me that I believe we've turned. And so the companies that own these projects and are advancing them and have projects of note are going to continue to get the lion's share of attention. So when things pivot or pivot even harder or continue to, companies like ourselves will continue to get the lion's share of attention in the marketplace, not only capital, but share price appreciation.
Yep, I think that's how I'm setting myself up for this spring and summer market. I think there's going to be a lot of good energy in the markets here. So Blaine, yeah. Blaine, thank you. I appreciate the update. Great conversation. Great to bring us up to speed on your projects and what the plans are and the focuses for Pacific Ridge.
Great. Thanks, Martin. Have a great day.